What if I told you that the image of the ideal Filipino woman, demure, subservient, and modest, is a historical invention? That for centuries, this was not at all the image of feminine power in the islands. Long before the Spanish ever arrived, the spiritual and moral heart of Filipino society was held by powerful women. They were healers, leaders, and warriors of the spirit. They commanded immense respect, advised village chieftains, and were the sacred bridge between our world and the world of the spirits. They had many names across the islands, but today, we remember them by one, the babaylan. So, what happened? How did the Philippines systematically erase its most powerful women, twisting their image from sacred guides to malevolent witches? And what does their return mean for us today? To understand what was lost, you first have to see the world the babaylan helped build. Pre-colonial Philippines was a vibrant collection of diverse communities, each with its own traditions. But across many of them, one thing was consistent: a profound respect for women and a more egalitarian social structure. And at the very heart of this was the babaylan. The babaylan were spiritual leaders, community healers, and keepers of sacred knowledge. They were mostly women, though some men who crossed traditional gender lines also held this role, and they were seen as having a direct line to the spirit world. When someone fell ill, physically or spiritually, it was the babaylan who performed rituals to heal them. They were believed to have the power to influence the weather, ensure a good harvest, protect pregnancies, and speak with the spirits of ancestors and nature, the anitos and dewatas. But their role wasn't just spiritual, it was deeply social. The babaylan were trusted advisors to the datu, or village chief, and their wisdom was sought before any major decision. They were teachers, historians, and judges, preserving the oral histories that held their societies together. In many communities, a babaylan was regarded with the same respect as the nobility. This was a world where feminine power wasn't just accepted, it was central to the entire community's survival. They were the soul of the barangay. But this world, and the revered women at its center, was standing on the edge of a violent transformation. A fleet of ships was sailing across the globe, carrying not just soldiers but a new god and a worldview that had no place for a female spiritual authority. Long pause, quick break. If you enjoy evidence-based dark mythology, explore our work, The Succubus Queen, a razor-edged erotic dark thriller. The venom of the white snake: faith, power, and consequences when reality fractures. 3 Blasphemous Tales Volume 1 Compact Nightmares from Our Universe. And the 2D6 Belief Engine RPG, where belief shapes reality at the gaming table. For deep dives, join our Substack newsletter, The Blasphemous Herald. And if you want to keep these projects alive, buy me a coffee, links below. Keep blasphemous, folks. When Spanish colonizers arrived in the 16th century, they saw not just land to claim but souls to convert and a culture to reshape. In this profound cultural encounter, they met their most significant challenge, the babaylan. To the Spanish missionaries, whose faith was built on a patriarchal clergy and a single true God, the power held by these female spiritual leaders was fundamentally incompatible with the new order they aimed to install. In order to spread Catholicism, the existing spiritual authority had to be discredited. This led to a systematic campaign to reframe the babaylan in the eyes of the people. Within the European Christian framework of the time, the babaylan's sacred rituals were interpreted as witchcraft. Their communication with ancestral spirits was seen as heresy. The very women who had guided their communities for generations were labeled priests of the devil and cast as malevolent sorcerers. The consequences of this were severe. Sacred objects used in their rituals were burned in public. The babaylan themselves were hunted and punished to make an example of them. Historical accounts describe them being humiliated and executed. Some of the most chilling accounts from the era detail their being fed to crocodiles to suppress their influence entirely. But the babaylan did not surrender their world quietly. They became symbols of resistance, leading some of the earliest revolts against Spanish rule. The Tamblat uprising in Bohol in 1621 was led by a male babaylan who rallied thousands to fight the imposition of Catholicism. In Panay, a babaylan named Tapper blended native beliefs with Catholic imagery, leading a powerful movement that was ultimately crushed. He and his followers were captured, with many of the babaylan executed for their defiance. With each failed uprising, the Spanish grip tightened. Forced conversions, the destruction of sacred spaces, and sustained persecution slowly eroded their position. The women who once held the community's spirit were either killed, forced into hiding, or stripped of their power. Their name, once an honor, became a slur in some contexts, synonymous with the evil their colonizers had defined. The erasure was nearly complete. When the spiritual heart of a society is fundamentally altered, it leaves a scar that shapes its identity for centuries. With the babaylan displaced, the status of women in the Philippines shifted dramatically. The egalitarian nature of pre-colonial society gave way to the patriarchal norms of the Europeans. A new ideal for the Filipina woman was created, the Maria Clara. Named after a character in Josie Rizal's novel, she was meek, modest, subservient, and domestic, the polar opposite of the powerful, autonomous babaylan. This new ideal disconnected Filipino women from their legacy of leadership. This created a kind of cultural amnesia, what national artist for literature N.V.M. Gonzalez once called a cultural Alzheimer's disease. Generations grew up not knowing that their ancestors were guided by powerful women, that gender was more fluid, or that their indigenous spirituality was rich and profound. This history was often overshadowed by colonial narratives that taught new values, creating a disconnect from indigenous roots. The consequences of this are deeply personal. Many Filipinos, especially in the diaspora, describe a feeling of being disconnected from their heritage. It created a wound in the Filipino identity, a sense that the history we were taught was incomplete. The babaylan became a ghost, a forgotten matriarch whose absence was felt but not understood. But ghosts have a way of returning, and in the 21st century, the spirit of the babaylan began to stir. For centuries, their story was suppressed, but today, Filipinos are fighting to reclaim it. There is a powerful, growing movement to restore the honor of the babaylan in our modern culture. This reclamation is happening on many fronts. Historians and scholars are digging through biased colonial records to piece together a truer picture of the pre-colonial Philippines. Academics like Lenny Mendoza Strobel and organizations like the Center for Babaylan Studies have been instrumental, creating spaces for dialogue and decolonization. This movement isn't about romanticizing the past, but about understanding it and using that knowledge to empower the present. The spirit of the babaylan is being revived in contemporary practice. Modern healers, artists, and community leaders are drawing inspiration from their legacy. They're studying traditional healing, performing rituals that honor nature, and using their platforms to teach others about this forgotten part of our identity. This revival is a powerful way of reinforcing cultural identity. This reclamation also holds profound meaning for the LGBTQIA community. Historical accounts note that some of the most respected babaylan were men who lived as women, known as asod, who were revered for their spiritual power. This legacy of gender fluidity provides a powerful historical anchor for modern queer Filipinos in their fight for equality. This movement is more than a history lesson. It is an act of healing. It's about looking at our history and reframing what was demonized as something to be honored. It is identity reclamation, allowing people to marry their past with their present. It's a declaration that the Filipina woman is not just Maria Clara, but also the babaylan, powerful spiritual and a leader in her own right. The suppression of the babaylan was a profound loss, severing a people from their spiritual and cultural core. But their spirit proved too strong to be destroyed. It endured in whispers, in folklore, and in the resilience of the Filipino people. Today, that whisper has become a roar. The reclamation of the babaylan is the healing of a centuries-old wound. It is a journey to find what was lost, to remember the powerful women who were the soul of the islands, and to understand that their strength, their wisdom, and their spirit is a legacy that lives within Filipinos today. So, I want to ask you, how does learning about this erased history impact your own sense of identity? What does the return of the babaylan mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story is part of this reclamation. I am Krista the Chronicler. Thank you for watching. Keep blasphemous, folks.